The vision will expand as you move forward. And let me explain, which is that when I first started, I thought about what are all the things that I would want an ideal podcast to look like. Welcome to the Path to Passive podcast, where we talk about building wealth and empowering lifestyle through commercial real estate investing for tech professionals. I always wish that other tech professionals reaching financial freedom had documented their journey along the way, so I'm doing it for the rest of us. Join us as we explore stories, many failures, and lessons learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. Hey, welcome to another episode, Path to Passive. My name is Steven Rita, and in this episode, I want to be talking about 10 different things. I came up with a list of 10 different things that I have learned over the last 50 episodes. And it's kind of crazy to really think that I've gone through 50 different episodes, but now just in a couple of weeks, the 52 weeks for the year, this is going to be a year old, which is absolutely crazy and kind of wild to me that the podcast has been going for that long. I mean, I look at some others that have been podcasting for years and I think, wow, time, dedication, effort, all of that stuff to get there. And just like anything that you might have done as well, it's takes consistency among the day job, the family, taking care of yourself, and oh my god, getting enough sleep as well. So I figured I would not only commemorate this, but lots of reflection on my side, as I think it's important to do to make sure that I'm thinking about the lessons I learned and how I can continue to iterate and have that continuous improvement because yeah, anyone who knows me personally, I'm always about continuous improvement. I can I can hear some of my colleagues chuckle in my head now, not in a crazy way. Come on now. But just that it's I think about Kaizen, incremental improvement. And so if you don't know Kaizen, is exactly as I mentioned, it is continuous improvement, small improvements over time. So anyway, this is the 10 things that I have learned over the last 50 episodes. Some of them are gonna sound a couple of them sound a little bit similar, but there are distinctions, and so I'm going to talk about that here as I go through. And first one right away is adding value through research can enhance the conversation and make a connection with the guest. Obviously, this is true. The more that you research, the guest and you get to know them, the better the conversation usually is, right? I used to think, which way would is better? Is it to have something that is a little bit more fresh, and when you're meeting someone, because some of these guests I've never met before, this is the first time. It's like, wow, it'd be really cool to have this person on the podcast to learn things from them, learn about their story and all of that. And maybe it would be good to just have things fresh, like a new conversation. But as I went through and I really made the decision that I wanted to show that I would invest in the other person, and I wanted to go and look at all the things that are important to them that they care about. Are they, do they care about family? Do they care about their church? Do they care about their community? How do they show that? What are the challenges that they've faced? What are the anything else like that they have gone through to that they've really made public, and things like LinkedIn, Instagram, their websites, other stuff like that to show who they are. And I've decided to do that research so that I can enhance the conversation, as I've mentioned, to ask questions that are at a deeper level than just the basics of them having to explain the same story. Now, there's a real thing here about them having sound bites, right? About stories that they might be used to telling and it is part of who they are. But at the same time, when you can ask a question such as, hey, I heard you talk about this story this way and somewhere else before, or I saw you write that piece. I was wondering, what did you mean by that? Or how does it relate to this other thing that might be related to you as my listeners, as my audience, or it could be the industry of tech or anything else like that. And I find being able to do the research and asking more nuanced questions really goes a long way. And that is a decision that I've made, will continue to make, to invest in someone else first by getting to know them so that I can ask more intelligent questions, but also just show that I have invested in them too. All right. Second is providing a platform for guests to share their expertise and really bring visibility is value altogether. And even as I say this, it seems it might sound so obvious. So give me a chance to explain. Is that as I think about the origin, right, a year ago, as I just mentioned, of thinking, hey, it'd be really cool to have a podcast, but what would I do? And more importantly, at the time I was thinking, how do I provide value? Right? I'm not an expert of the 20, 30 years of experience like many of the guests that I have had on to talk about whatever their experience domain in real estate. And so I'm thinking like, okay, what can I possibly do to give them value? And so, I mean, one thing I just talked about right there was to do research and invest in them so I can maybe ask more intelligent questions. And there's to ask more intelligent questions. But the other thing too here is that just having a platform so that I can get more visibility and you know for others like yourself to listen to these guests provides a lot of value altogether. And it's really that person sharing their life, sharing their experience, sharing their purpose really on real estate, how they feed their family, feed their investors, feed the renters, the customers of those properties. These are all little businesses that is the product. Them talking about their experience and what they're doing is a product on its own, and this is a platform. And so it's something that I learned a little bit more about audience, maybe is a way to say it. But I also realized that asking good questions and asking them questions in nuanced ways and giving them that platform to think through things, hopefully gives them different and new insights as well about how they can articulate things, or a new idea of, hey, I haven't thought about that way. That's what I can hope for and dream of too, right? To help them along to, as I think critically. Uh, but at the same time, it's just really providing a platform to guests to share their experience, bring visibility, and try to get as many eyes and ears on this content is value all on its own. And so it's given me a lot more certainty. And so that's what I would make here for point number two. Now, point three is more about a business level for the podcast being a business. And what I have written down here is dividing and conquering. Right, dividing and conquering tasks by collaborating with others allows for a more focused approach. Very simply put, do what you do the best and outsource the rest. Right. And so when I first started the podcast, I made a decision to work with a partner company to do editing and doing publishing. And I had thought about, all right, do I, someone technical, me, it's I really want to learn at least a couple times the nuts and bolts of how to do the publishing, how to do all the editing, and thinking, man, look, I just want to start. I just want to get this out the door. I was already thinking about, like, the audio for the trailer isn't as good as I want to. The outro to this, to that. And I just wanted to get it done because I knew as I did it more, I would get better. And that has certainly held up as I'm clearly doing this 50th episode, or 51st really, on the lessons learned. But dividing and conquering, collaborating with others will allow you to go faster. And you have to put in the reps. And by dividing and conquering, really working with other people has really enabled me to do that, because learning to speak and speak better and sharpening this tool of speaking and communicating and articulating and whatever else it is the thing that's going to give me the highest ROI, highest and best use, as we might say, within properties. But it's not about, how well do I know the software to publish? How well do I know the operations of editing and all stuff like that? Now, could I get into it? And if I really needed it in the pinch, yes, I'm sure I could. But in the time that I have, this is what's been I've chosen to focus and how I've been getting the most value, especially for you as my listener and watcher if you're watching me on YouTube right now. So, number four, consistency is key in building trust and maintaining a reliable podcast. Really, consistency is key. Again, all things sounding obvious here, but the first 10 episodes were all solo episodes. I didn't do any interviews at the time. They were rough. I mean, I'm doing this at 7:30 right now, 7:30 p.m. Those I'm putting this together so much quicker than I did at first. And man, there were some nights where I was putting together all the scripting, and I was thinking about, all right, how do I do the organization of this episode? How do I, does this part make sense? Do I have the right transition? All that stuff. And I would be up to like midnight, no joke, up the next morning 6 a.m. Hey, I got to record this, it's got to go out, even if it's not quote unquote perfect or I don't love it, it's got to go out the door. I got to be consistent, I get etc. And um I wanted to keep the episodes coming for you as the listeners. I see who's listening, which is so awesome, but I also know that I made a commitment to myself to have that consistency as well. And, you're going to learn. You're going to learn more. You're going to learn more about what you're made of, about the content. You're going to get more confidence while doing it too. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's with your relationships with your boss, with your manager, with your customers, whoever, but continuing to be there, having that consistency is really one definition of trust, is continuing to show up. Trust is built over time, and I hope in that I'm earning that with you here too. So if you wouldn't mind shooting me some feedback about maybe what you've seen over time, what you've heard over time. It could be anything like that. Shoot me a mail, Steven at aritacapital.com. Should be in the show notes as well. Should be, checking out what I've got there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, on leave a review in Apple Podcast or Spotify. Totally appreciate it. I know, positive, needs improvement, whatnot. I just want to hear from you. So thanks for that. So number five here is preparing through having an agenda helps us stay organized and focused during interviews. Yeah, obviously, right? Agenda, something to keep scripted, will go a long way. And more importantly, I would say I talked about confidence. More importantly, is on this one, I would definitely say it's having the certainty for myself that I know what's coming next. I am prepared. It's not the same, again, a nuance here. It's not the same as doing the research for my guests to make a connection with them. But this one is about me. Do I know what I plan to talk about? Do I know what the roadmap of this episode with the guest looks like? Or even in this case, I've scripted out these, couple bullet points that I'm looking at, but I'm talking through about what I want to be in this episode. And so having the confidence in real time allows me to have, or the preparation allows me to have the freedom to be, we'll say in the moment of being flexible. And that comes through that preparation. And it's never been, it's just as true as other places that you can imagine to make sure that you're prepared. And that could be 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time to just get yourself back in state for that will be really, really important. Which leads me perfectly to number six here, which is focus on the desired outcomes for that the podcast delivers for listeners. So, said another way, I like to think about this as what is it that you as the listener have want to know? What are your outcomes as the listener? What do you want to know about the asset, about the tactics, about the strategy, about anything that could be in something emotionally that you have to overcome with the community, with your friends, with whoever else around you or and in you that you need so that you can take advantage of building your own real estate portfolio, right? About building your own passive income, about building your own income streams in general. And so getting really clear about, if this is my listener, my customer, what is it that they want, and why? And why would they want to listen to this episode with this particular guest? Because there'd be guests on multifamily, on self storage, on land development, on build to rent, build to sell, mobile home parks, etc. But what are the things, the key core parts of those things that you can learn, not only about the structure and the asset, but the things around it that might be a little bit peripheral or auxiliary, that would be nuggets that you can take from the practitioners and the operators of these assets. And so I really try and think about that, because oftentimes it's not just a strategy, and tactics. It's about the psychology, obviously. And so I really think about that as I go. What is it that you want as a listener? Which is why I'm always asking for feedback. Tell me the things that you want. I get these from investors, my investor I talk to, my colleagues, etc. And so the more I can hear from you, the better and higher quality episodes I can make for you and bring more and more guests. So that would be number 6. Number 7 here is, I've got here, avoiding overthinking and analysis paralysis. I This is what ended up coming out, but the way I was thinking about this was actually to make decisions quicker, right? I uh, seren- serendipity that working on a project in my quote unquote day job right now, where it's always about how can we move faster, right? It's always about how we can move faster. All opinions, all things are my own here. I do work for AWS, as you probably already know. And so just saying that as a disclaimer, all opinions are my own. And so one of the things is bias for action as a leadership principle. And I really love this. And I like other frameworks and things to think about to reinforce things like these leadership principles, because they're personal. They're personal in that it's like, yeah, of course. Like you want to move fast, you want to take action, you want to make progress on things like we all do, and that's what this is. And so the overthinking aspect here, move quicker, I should say, is something that I saw from Bezos' quote, which is something along the lines, and this won't be perfect, but that's okay. How meta is that? Is that if um, it's okay, you should be making decisions based on about 70% of the inputs, or 70% of the knowledge and data that you need. If you're waiting until you get 90% of that data, then you're making decisions too slow. And I totally love that, because that's really true. And, a part of me thinks, well, how do I really know this is even 70% or 50%? Or, it's one of those things where the more you learn, the less you realize that you know, because there's so much more information. But the point still is do I have enough information to make a decision, even if I don't have it all? And what does the upsides look like and the downsides? And can I live with those downsides? And just going, and going for it. And I think that's a total game changer, because while it is important to think some things through, even at that point where you like, if you think, oh, I need more information, really check yourself and ask, do I need more information? And what happens if I were to make a decision right now? So it's really that self-awareness. And it's something I've been putting a lot into practice, and it's been serving me well so far. It takes practice, I will say, and just like anything, I know it's a muscle, something to flex. So that is my learning, and I will keep on going with that. So number 8, and I've got 8, 9, 10 here left. I'll go through these quickly, which is round vision. And I love this one because Q. We're in Q3, June, July, August, September, pretty much. Head Q3 heading to Q4, and looking to evaluate goals again for the next quarter, which is the vision will expand as you move forward. And let me explain, which is that when I first started, I thought about what are all the things that I would want an ideal podcast to look like. Now, there were obviously things like I want to meet other people, I want to learn more, I want to get more of my company out there. I want so that I can feed me my knowledge some more, but also so I can share it. I want it to be a give and take, like it's breathing, right? And I take a lot in, and I exhale, and I put a lot of that information out there, and so forth and so forth. But the point I'm making is that when you're just starting, like many of the, I talk to these investors, some on the podcast here too, the same stories. When they first started, all they were trying to do is pay their bills. They were trying to get more money, more income to meet their expenses. And over time, it went from how can I get my own income to, how can I do more in the community, and do more in the community was went to how can I meet new networks of people and share, then how can I educate, and how can I have a purpose, and all these kinds of things. And so over time for them, that vision also changed. And so knowing that you don't have to have this grandiose vision right when you start anything, is that as long as you're consistent and you are taking that time to think, you know, if you can only see a mile down the road at point 0.7 miles, take an hour or two or three to think about, okay, I can see that much more now. Along the way, I've got some more resources. I have met people along the way where I've become more intelligent to see differently. I've met people along the way where I've gotten a big bar or bought new binoculars or something. So now instead, I have new tools and resources where I can see 5 miles down the road, right? Not just one more mile down the road, but I can see 5 miles. So the vision will continue to expand as you move along. So be consistent. Number 9 here is things must be difficult before they can be easy. This is a Chinese proverb I saw somewhere, and I just, it's a quick frame because, you got to put in the reps. There's no doubt about it that the first 10, just like those first 10 episodes I was talking about, were definitely the most difficult. And that's definitely true. And here I am, going through many of the guest episodes, but just doing all this in one shot, which is going to be great because it's less editing, right? But also just having put in a lot more reps, it's so much more easy. And I think it's going to be, at number 10, 100 is what I meant to say. It's going to be even easier. So uh, there would be new goals and new challenges for sure as I think about what will my stretch goals be then. But the skills keep skill stacking, and that's the point. And then finally, here at number 10, I have don't take things too seriously and enjoy the process. So this is a good one because the idea of enjoying the process while you learn and not taking it too seriously, I always felt like sounded a little bit, I don't know. It sounded nice. It sounded good, but the other part of me and part of my brain was you've got to be prepared. You've got to be prepared. And you can absolutely be prepared, and sort of to what I said earlier too is be prepared but also know how to be present. And along the way, don't take it too seriously. And so I think that it makes everything better, really, because it comes off as more human. And the more human that you can show up, especially with guests, and just have meaningful conversations around things as cool as commercial real estate. It's just makes everything better. So don't take things too seriously. Enjoy the process. Keep going. Get the reps in. Move faster. Be consistent, and know that the vision is going to continue to expand over time. So I will leave with a quote for today, which is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That is an unknown, but it's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I totally love it. And I'm going to leave that with you today. So if you enjoyed any of this, please leave a comment, subscribe, let me know what you enjoyed. Again, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, direct to me on email. I've also got a couple links in there, an ebook, and um, some other goodies for you if you want to go have a look at those. I'd love to have a conversation with you. So please go ahead and reach out. And if you want any specific topics as well, please let me know as well. And I would be happy to get guests if it's something I can't talk on to go and talk about those things. And I will be happy to get those episodes back to you as well. So thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Path to Passive. We love connecting with our listeners and those on the path to architecting their wealth and improving their lives. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see in future episodes. Get in touch with us through email or Instagram. See you next week for a new episode.